What's up, guys? This is Nene Tazz Knows Podcast and the one and only Leo El Feo
Praise God.
Solis. This is exactly why I don't.
That's for myself. I got a little audience right there too. So
for those that don't know, Leo just fought for his amateur 145-pound championship fight,
Yes.
and he won.
yes.
And as you can see, this is the big and fancy belt.
This is my
Hey, is this for real? Or are we
This
testing?
is for real.
I thought we were doing a touchdown.
This is it right here. We're live.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is the best I could got right here.
Do you want to do it again?
No, that's fine. We'll keep it going.
Oh, we'll see what happens after. We can cut it if we have to cut
I thought we were doing a test shot to see if everything fit right.
We did.
We
We
did,
did that
it.
already?
Yeah. Then it was in the
Oh.
shot.
You're not even focused.
Oh.
This
The middle
is what
one.
you want to get.
Well, there's a cat staring me down, so it's a little.
He's terrified.
I was like, oh boy. All right. Well, welcome everybody.
Yes, we're here now.
For reals this time. So, have we pinpointed when you actually started training, or are we still just kind of?
I've been. I don't know. You know, my memory is fade, so I have no idea. But I think I want to say for sure. I try to always think back about when Connor was going to the division. So that's around the time, I think 2016, 2015.
Yeah, I think 2015, 2016. Because you started at the Midway location, right?
Yes,
Victory,
Midway. Yeah. So obviously, I mean, you heard it before, but I was sitting in Mexico. I had just got my nose surgery, like my second one. So I was sitting there and just watching Dragon Ball Z and watching Connor go through everything. I was like, man, that looks very exciting. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, but Goku's story is just super humbling. Just work hard, eat a lot, and just train hard. And I was like, man, you know, I just had that drive in me to do something. So that's what I had in mind right there and then. So when I got back to the States, I started looking for gyms and stuff like that, hopping around and different dojos. And you know, thank God I found Anthony at Victory and stuff like that. I just love how it was just so like ruggedy and small, like the street, but at the same time they're in there just, you know, putting some hard work. So it was awesome.
Yeah. You what was your experience like on your first day with Victory?
Zach was like, I feel like when I met first Zach, if you see this, man, I was like, I saw you and it was just like, man, this guy's so good. And everything that I did, he criticized. And I was like, oh, I was like, you know, and I could tell right away, he felt like I was trying to kind of like taking it all in too much. And I was kind of like to be too egotistical with my kicks, you know, but at the same time, I admire his work ethic. It's always been there. So, like again, it attracted me to see how hard everybody was working. Anthony, the way he dictated everything with such honorable way, and you can tell he was so like just into everything, you know, like everything. Every little example he gave, which is like if you were the example, God bless you because you're gonna go through a ride. But other than that, you know, it was just like you can tell he really loved what he did. So that was admirable. So that drew me to go just sign up, you know.
We talked about it relatively recently, but I don't know if everybody's heard the story. I was just at Midway I think I was just there once a week. I was there on Fridays, and then that's my first memory of you. And I saw you, and I was like, I already didn't want to be at Midway because for me it took like 2 hours to drive there.
Yeah.
So I was in a 2-hour drive, and I was already crabby as it is because I don't like driving. But then I remember seeing you, and I remember feeling that I don't remember what it was, but we were doing something, and you were so nonchalant with what I was saying that I was like, this guy doesn't listen. You know?
It was like first time listening to you.
and I was like, who does this guy think he is? You know, and by the time you got there, I was already trying to get out of Midway. Like I didn't want to. I kept telling Anthony every week, I can't make this drive every week. I don't want to make this drive every week. Mm-hmm. You know, and then he finally listened, and I think either he started showing up more or he got somebody else to start showing up more. Once I stopped going, and then the next I heard was that he was going to stop showing up again because he was going to start venturing off somewhere else. I was like, who are you going to have run the classes? He's like, Leo. And it was, usually I'm a very good soldier when it comes to Anthony. And whatever Anthony asked me, I was backing him up. I would do it. Yes, sir. Even if I didn't think it was a good idea, it'd be yes, sir. And then we'll pick up the pieces later. That was the only time I told him, Anthony, are you sure? He's like, no, he's different. He's changed. I was like, all right, I said I didn't want to be part of Midway anymore. So it's like that's on you, whatever you got to do. And then whatever happened with Midway. And things didn't work out the way that Anthony wanted them to work out. And they decided that they were going to close down Midway and it was just going to be back to the location on 18th. And then that's when he told me that, Leo's going to start training here. I was like, great. And I remember when you came in, I remember not paying too much attention to you when you came in. And I remember the exact moment where I was like, all right, this kid is different and there's something to him. And I'm glad that you brought up Zach at the beginning because you submitted him.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, all right, you caught him in a rear naked choke. You had his arm trapped and everything. He only had one arm to defend. You snuck in that choke. I was like, that was great technique. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start paying attention to him.
Yes.
And I think the next week was the first time that I sparred you. And I was a little nervous because you got long arms. You're tall and you're scrappy. By that time, I wasn't as scrappy as I was when I was younger.
Right.
And I remember Ralph was there too. And before I could say anything to you after the round, Ralph told you there's no reason Sean should be out jabbing you because of your height and your reach. And I remember you saying, he's like, oh, I got a little intimidated. And I was like, why? It's me. Like, I'm not that great, especially at striking. It's like, no. But hearing you say that, seeing you submit Zach the week prior, I was like, I was all wrong about this guy. And unlike most people think, because I named the podcast Tazz Knows, that I like being right, I actually like being proven wrong. And being wrong about you was the best thing that I was wrong about. Because I thought you were cocky. I thought you were just going to be there and do whatever you want, not listen.
Right.
But it was the complete opposite. You listened to exactly what Anthony and I were saying because you got that choke. You were humble enough to be intimidated by someone that you shouldn't be intimidated by. And from that point on, I think is when I really noticed who you were as a person, as a martial artist. And that's where, for me, this journey like really, really hit off running.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know. I feel like that I just kind of like that vibe that I get from people, or at least I give off sometimes. I notice a lot. Like, it seems like I don't care or just like nonchalant about a lot of things. But yeah, I'm glad that we finally got past that sooner than later. As far as like, I was there to work, and it just, because I do remember that day too very clearly when I first went with you guys in general, and just for everybody, I was like, I looked at you guys like, man, you guys are like obviously at this level, and I want to get there as soon as I can. So I had to work with you guys as soon as I can, But yeah, it's just, Sean, I've always been in my head. I feel like I have trouble even to this day. I'm working on it to get past that, to see the things that I'm able to do and not limit myself to, so much of like what I put myself in my own head,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I feel like I've been getting at, obviously better at throughout the years, just getting out of my head and being able to just trust in myself, and having you guys trusted me so much. It's been very motivating. So we're here now.
But it wasn't always that way, though. Why did you start training in the first place?
I mean, obviously the motivation obviously has changed over the years now that I'm older. When I first, like I said, when I first started fighting, I just wanted to get in there, and just, you know what? I will also say this. I will say ultimately, I was always very shy and reserved. Baseball was my first love. I still love baseball. I played baseball like religiously, like I do martial arts now, if not more. But one thing with baseball, like anything, it was a mental thing. And if I couldn't get past that mental block, I always froze. And my dad, being one of those guys, I love baseball, being there, like he would just make me freeze every time. Like the moment I walked in the batter box, strike two, I was already stricken out. Like I was already like out of the game, and it was just so bad. I had like terrible drives home with my dad and arguments with my dad over this stuff. But then I was like, all right, if I can walk out into a cage damn near half naked, I can probably do anything at this point. You know what I mean? I can get past any other mental block. So yeah, like, and that really was something that I strived on. And the same time, even though it was a good motivation, it almost ended up biting me in the end, especially my first fight, because it was like so high, came out so high and rolling and stuff like that. And then, the adrenaline rush came in. I was like, oof, this is actually not as easy as it looks. So, yeah, there's that part.
So your first fight was in 2019. You started training in 2015. When did you feel like you made that decision? Like, what was it that was like, all right, now's the time that I'm going to fight?
As far as fighting goes?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I really wanted just to fight. Like, that was my intentions when I first started. I wanted to fight. Like, I wanted to train to fight. I didn't see any other purpose behind it. Obviously, as crazy as it might sound, earlier in my career, I was very more, like, in that perspective where I wanted to make a career out of it. And even though I had a lot of people telling me that I shouldn't be taking it as a career, people that, I saw people that you love, your family and stuff like this. They were telling me, like, you're too old for this at this point. Your career is already at this, whatever. But yeah, at that point, I didn't let that shy away from me. I just wanted to work hard and just, make the time for it and stuff like this. And I knew that I had, as far as the time goes, back then I had much more time than I do now. But yeah, that was essentially my intentions from the beginning, just to get in there. But I will say, like, once I realized how intricate the game was, as far as the details go and everything that goes into it, I was like, oh man, this footwork, I got to learn this. I got to learn that and learn this. And, I want to go in there and look good, which I still ended up being ragdolled. But yeah, that was my intention. I wanted to look super, like, man. But yeah, that I realized that stuff took time and I couldn't rush that. So, yeah, that was pretty much what I had right there. So,
because you were the first fighter for Warrior Evolution. I started the brand, like, I had taken over. Anthony was still around in 2018, but by 2019 is when the first year that I was by myself. So for me to have you as a first fighter was nerve-wracking because you never fought before.
Yeah.
And I know you started with Anthony. Now Anthony wasn't around. I was a little nervous. I was like, what is that going to do for your mindset, being that the coach that you started with wasn't around? Was that a factor for you at all? Did you think about that when we were going through because I don't know if we've talked about it with everybody else. You went through a few training camps before we got your first fight.
Yeah. I guess from the coaching aspect, I didn't really think about it that much. I realized we were all on the same team.
Yeah.
I know Anthony. But at that point, wait. Actually, no. I think Anthony's with the picture at that point, though, right?
Yeah.
Or you saying we had fighting camps? Again, this memory is not. It's on him. It's not on me. Don't quote me on this. Yeah, I have legitimate excuses for all this forgiveness. So, yeah, I don't. So you're saying we were ready for a fight before Anthony? Is that what you're saying? Or when Anthony was around?
I think when Anthony was around, we started the process of starting to put you through camps.
Yeah.
And it was either, and again, my memory is not great either. There was one point where you knocked yourself out during the camp and we had to pull you out.
Yeah, that was past. You know what? Here we go. I'm correcting them. That was past. That was past. I think that was already past Anthony's days, because that was with Justin.
Yes, that was with
Shout out Justin, man.
Yeah.
Miss you, guy. Okay, but yeah. Yeah, that was that as far as that training camp goes. But yeah, I mean, as far as the coaching stuff, I never really thought about. I mean, once we were a Warrior, it was just us,
Yeah.
It wasn't about. I mean, you were already at that point. I feel like we were pretty sort of established.
Yeah.
Right, not as we are now, but we were like kind of getting there.
We had a flow of what we were doing.
Yeah, Ralph was there.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, at that time. And even though obviously the team was growing, we're blessed now. We had a decent sort of a kind of people, bodies. We had Bart, type of bodies walking around all the time. Quentin was more consistent back then.
Yeah,
and he was a tough kid. And yeah, just
Eder was always down.
Eder was always there, consistently, more consistent. It's funny. I saw Eder today, and like as soon as he left, I'm like, come back. I'm like, I'll be back in a couple months. Like, come back, sooner. But yeah, I think as far as like my mindset went, as far as us getting ready for the fight, my first fight at least, we were just Warriors. So yeah, that was that.
I remember for that one, that one was real special. And I think if I wasn't so new to the coaching and running the gym, I don't know if the current me would have accepted that fight, looking at all the facts. because your first opponent was against a victory guy. So we knew that was legit training. He had, I think, 3 previous fights before you?
Was he 1-4 or 1-5? I don't remember correctly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not the winning record, but he had a record.
He had a record, and it was your debut. And the fights that he had before were at 155. And if I remember correctly, that fight you guys met at 150. I don't even think it was
supposed to be at 45.
Yeah.
But he didn't make 145.
Yeah. So he's bigger than you. He's more experienced, and you're having your first fight. I don't know if present day me would have accepted a fight like that for someone making their debut. But we did it, I don't remember too much of the conversation I had, like if you were willing to take it, if you wanted to take it, or you just, I told you this is what they got, you want it? And it was like, yeah, all right, let's do it. But what do you remember of that fight?
I mean, honestly, especially earlier I was scared. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. Obviously, I don't know if I showed it as much, but as much as I was firm on my decision to fight,
yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, my mindset was so different, so I had to kind of tap into that mindset back then. I was working at a restaurant. I still wasn't married to my wife, and so I was kind of like, in and out with the different women and stuff like this. So like that, kind of like, man, I want to fight. I want to make myself out there, put myself out there, and whatever, yada yada, all that prideful stuff. So whenever you told me to fight, I'm like, let's go. But yeah, when I looked at him, like, man, this kid definitely is tough. I feel like, my first fight might not be as wise. But again, like you said, I don't think we're really thinking as much like that now. At that moment, we're like, let's just get in there. Especially, I think it was like we had a couple failed camps at that point.
Yeah.
So it was about just fighting at that point, So, and we didn't find out it was 150 to the day of.
Yeah.
The weigh-in. And that was, all right, well, what am I say? No. Right. So,
one of the big parts, because that first round was pretty rough, and I remember you coming back to the corner, and you're like, he's so strong, and Ralph was damn near ready to slap you, and he's like, no, you're stronger than him.
Yeah,
and I think it was halfway through the second round that you really turned things around. You ended that round in mount, and do you remember the highlight of?
Yes, the infamous drool. You should look that up. It was probably hard. It was probably the hardest thing, harder than my punches.
Around, and then you just see the.
And then I still try to clean it off. I'm just like, oh, sorry, Smacks. Just get up.
You can hear the announcers like, oh.
Yeah, that was great. They had so great detail that day. But
you turn things around really well. And then again, the newness of me coaching, and Ralph and I were so focused on you after the second round of the adjustments that we didn't really pay attention to your opponent. But if we would have seen he barely made it off his stool for the third round.
For the third round.
Yeah, right. He was wobbly. He shot in, and you caught him right in that guillotine that you caught all of us in during training. And I remember you guys were up against the fence. You had the guillotine. It wasn't the best guillotine because of where you guys were, and I think you were like in half guard or something. You didn't have full guard. But then his hand was like right in front of me, and I could see his fingers doing this. And the ref is just kind of watching, and I'm yelling, he's tapping. And I think he looked, and you started telling the ref, he's tapping.
Right.
And then that's when the ref stopped it, and he looked at Max, and Max just kind of collapsed back.
Yeah.
But guy more experienced, a guy bigger, and you get the finish. You had the things in your mind. The first thing you said after the first round with him is he's so strong.
Yeah. And
you took him out. Do you remember how you felt as soon as the referee raised your hand?
Exhausted. I just wanted to go. So tired. I mean, I was excited. I think, like you said, at that moment for me, I will never forget it. Like, and I always thought it was you that said that, or I guess it was Ralph.
Yeah.
That said you're strong, because I felt defeated as soon as I walked over. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I felt way out of my league. I felt like it was strike 2 again, and I was about to strike out. And yeah, it was just a roller coaster of emotions, especially with my wife being there. We're not married then, but she was screaming, but not like in a supporting way, just like bloody murder way, where it was just sounded like somebody was murdering her upstairs in the balcony. So I was like, I gotta get up. I gotta get up from here and go help her and figure out what's going on upstairs. You know, and this is the
that's
midst.
what got him to finish the fight.
It's like the midst of like him. He has like the body triangle on my neck. I'm just like, he's punching my head, and I'm just like, this is not good. So like I hear like, all right, let's get up. You know, but yeah, that was definitely like one of those things where, you know, I guess I strive with my sheer will and my heart just to like, at that point, I knew like, I guess it killed me at that point, really. There's no way to get me out of there, really. But yeah, I was sort of excited for that fight. I was excited that we won. I was upset with myself. Like, that's why I don't know if you see like in the reaction, like the announcer, like, what happened? Because I was like, I cussed because I was like, man, I wanted to, again, have like a really good performance, you know, be this high level guy. And I was just like, I barely made it through. Like, bro, one arm, it was like one arm guillotine. I was just like stuffing his head. He was exhausted. So, but yeah, I got at that point, you know, thank God for not a large muscle, like they said, you know, that was this double-edged sword, that big muscle, fatigue quickly and stuff. He felt so heavy. Yeah. You know, heavy and strong in that first round and stuff. So you made it through, so I'm glad.
So with that experience, how do you now going from the first fight to this? Oh, the ninth fight.
Yes,
7-2.
We just had the ninth fight.
The ninth fight. How do you think you switch it on? How do you switch on the fighter? Because you go from nice person, loving dad. You have your career, your work, and you just switch it. When it comes to the cage, you are a completely different animal.
What is that switch? I think for me at this point, I mean, right now, point in my life, it's just like I understand what it takes in order for me to win a fight now, or what I need to do in regards to like go out there and really make a point, or I'll go out there and just perform well, you know. And obviously, I still feel like I haven't hit that perfect immaculate flow state, even though people tell me if I feel like I look good. I feel like I still haven't really felt 100% comfortable in there yet. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, for me, just like it's weird. It's a weird thing because at the same time I'm trying to stay cool, right? I tell people all the time, as much as I know it sounds corny, I say this because, you know, Edder's been my main guy for a long time. You know, I love the guy to death. But he always made me something about his rounds. Like, if I had my hard rounds and you just throw Edder in there, like, it'll be a hard round, but just the way he flow, just the way he like it's the way he is. It's just like it relaxed me, you know. So for me, is like I'll try to envision Edder across the cage some way. Like, throw the plan to fight like this Edder. I just tune up a little bit. Now I'm gonna hit him a little harder. That's it. Other than that, you know, that kind of keeps me metal in that sense. But yeah, that definitely, like people call it, that kill switch, I guess. I don't know. It's exciting, I guess, at this time, and trying to use that excitement now at this point to just motivate me to perform instead of crumbling me. It's like it either do that, right? It'll either crumble you, or you use it to just feed off it and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess I will say this too: fighting is set up in a way where like it builds you up to it. And I know it's like, I'm not really big on the whole weight cutting, going crazy with the weight cuttings. I hate it sometimes, but like just the way of like being so disciplined, and you're cutting your weight, and then you're leading up to, like, obviously the weight cut itself is a big win, and being able to eat and drink water is the best thing ever. But it just all that build up to this moment, and then you're finally able to perform. You have no excuse. You worked hard. Your body should be at 100% if you had a good weight cut, you know. And now it's like you're able to showcase this, right? So now it's like just perform. So that kind of helps me kind of in tuning at that moment and stuff like that. But again, from the first to the second fight, the motivation has definitely changed. You know, I don't have that self-centered motivational, you know, kind of like perspective where like it's me against the world, or it's I'm gonna F this guy up type of thing. Now it's just like, you know, I know who I am in the Lord. I know what my life is. I know what my purpose is, my identity. I know who I am. Ultimately, win or lose, you know, like that's just how it is. In this moment in time, it's just a moment in time that I'm blessed to have, to be able to be here. And like, I think I try to kind of showcase in my last interview with Clay. I couldn't get it across. I trying to get interviews better, but just to show like like, you know, people go through so much, and for me to be here in the cage and to fight, it's like, it's nothing, you know, it's a privilege, really. Like, it's a joy, you know, it's like, I'm healthy, you know, like, we're both healthy. Look, thank God, none of us got seriously hurt, you know, and that's it. Like, somebody's going through worse things. For me to be like, that nervousness to overwhelm me, like, it's nothing, you know. And I think also my job, also, you know, maybe my life, that I've been through different situations. And now I see, like, okay, this is nothing compared to this now. So, yeah, that was a lot. Yeah.
Do you 9 fights, 7 wins, 2 losses? Can you pinpoint what was different, maybe that was going on in your head or in your training, or just what did you feel a difference in the wins and losses before they happened? Not to say that you went in like knowing you were going to lose, but can you pinpoint kind of what was different?
Yeah. I guess it's different because I was definitely a different person with each of them. With Fabian, I was a whole different person. With Fabian, I really thought I was going to beat him.
That was your first loss.
Yeah. I lost to Fabian. But he just hit me hard. He just caught me. Yeah, he just caught me. I mean, I felt good that day. I remember walking out and Mac telling me, like, you're not losing to this kid. I was like, yeah, I'm not losing to this kid. And I remember, I don't know, it was weird. It's just like, I mean, that fight was so weird. It was just like, I don't know. I felt good. And I mean, Fabian he was weird. He just threw like straight looping punches. He was like, you know, he had good combinations. He just came around with his punches very well. But as far as leading up to the fight, I don't feel like I felt good. I felt really good, actually. I think as far as like health wise,
that was your third fight.
Yeah,
you were 2-0.
I just TKO'd my second fight.
Yeah,
just really, I felt like it was a great
in the first round.
Yeah.
Do you think there was a connection with your overconfidence and ego kicking in? Because you were so convinced that you were gonna win.
Definitely. I mean, you can definitely put that. I mean, it's like a hit or miss confidence. Like now you have, right? Like now I'm understanding that now. It's like confidence, and then there's confidence in yourself, and then there's also confidence as having like knowing that there's something bigger than you that really upholds everything else, and that you really don't have control of the little things. Only the things that you have control of the little things. Overall, the bigger, greater plan you don't. You know, so I think that takes a load off my shoulder realistically. When you try to fight so much about yourself, and then when things happen, like I lost, which I feel like, again, these all things are meant to happen realistically, right?
Yeah.
I was meant to lose. So at the end, I realized that, especially actually, I'll jump into my second loss. When I lost to this guy, that one was like, I feel like I got too much in my head. And Sean knows that. Sean knows this. I was just putting him in a pedestal when I should enough, and that just kind of got caught, you know, with the right hand and whatever have you slammed in my head.
Yeah, I think what I noticed from like with the first loss with Fabian, I remember because Aaron had fought that night too, and he fought before you, and I was out there with him. Mac was in the corner for both fights. But I had talked to him. I was like, I'm going to stick down here to make sure Aaron gets checked out by the doctor. Everything's good. Right. You go up there with Leo, make sure that he's set. Because I don't remember how many fights there were in between, but there were a handful of fights. And then when I got back to the locker room, you were kind of just standing there. And I asked Mac, I was like, did you start the warm up? He's like, yeah, we're done. I was like, what do you mean? I was gone for like 5 minutes. He's like, he says he's good. You know, and right away for me, that was a little off because the previous 2 fights, like you had a longer warm up. Yeah. But it was like, all right, maybe he really does feel that good, you know. And then outside of that, I don't know how much you remember it. You were already in the cage. Fabian was walking, and then Mac and I were in the corner, and Mac calls you over, and you crouch down, and Mac tells you, you will lose. And there was like a pause, and I looked at him like, what are you saying? And he's like, just not tonight. But there's like, I felt like there was too much of a pause there, because even I looked at him, I was like, when did this become a coaching strategy? Yeah. You know?
I don't remember that, so thank God.
and you were just kind of crouched over, and you just kind of gave him the...
Sure.
then you went into it, you know. But
You talking about Fabian though, right?
that was Fabian.
Okay.
Yeah. For that, the second one with the kid, it was like, yeah, I exactly what you said. You were in your own head. There were, I think, a lot of things going on outside of training that was kind of, I think, was that before or after your son was born? I don't.
I think my son was already born by then.
Yeah, you know, because I remember you kept. He's so young, and by that time you were getting into your head about being older and stuff.
Yeah,
You know, so I felt it. I mean, bias or no bias, I think if you fight both of them again, you beat both of them again, because with who you are as a fighter, as a martial artist, as a human being now, because what beat you was not their skill. What beat you was
your head.
being in your head, you know, and I think that was a common thing. Hi, you joining us? A common thing. So how did you kind of bounce back from that? Like, you had the losses. you lost to Fabian, and then I think you won 2 after that before you got the title fight with the kid.
2? Yes. Title fight with
I still don't know how to say his name.
Are we talking about after losing my second fight?
After you lost to Fabian.
Yeah, I fought Josh.
You fought Josh?
Yeah.
And that was it Josh? When did you fight Wesley?
Wesley.
You fought Wesley before Josh.
After Josh.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Wesley was.
Yeah, it was. It was after. It was after Josh.
No, I will bet money on this one.
Oh gosh.
Because
Tapology. Here we go.
Wesley was at the Des Plaines Theater because that was the first fight back after COVID.
Dude, hold on. Because there's a certain way that I felt after losing to this guy, and then having to fight. I'm pretty sure it was this dude. Or maybe you're right.
Because the Wesley performance.
Maybe you are right. Because I feel like I could have done a lot better against Wesley than I should have.
And I think Wesley was one of your stronger performances.
Really?
Uh-huh.
And I think I feel like for me that was because of what had just happened.
Yeah, because you.
Oh, I'm right. Thanks, Typology. It was Josh after.
Really?
Yeah, and then it was Rachel.
No, I'm talking after Fabian.
Oh, Wesley. No, you said after this other guy.
After Fabian, you fought Wesley.
No, you're right. Yes,
Yeah.
After Fabian, I fought Wesley. Oh, yeah. After Fabian, I fought Wesley. Right.
And Wesley.
You did say Wesley. I thought you were talking about Retro.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, Wesley Meadows. Yeah, I like that performance. Yeah, shout out Wesley Meadows, man. That guy's made it of steel.
Because that one, you went 3 rounds, but you displayed real good striking, real good wrestling, real good jiu-jitsu. And even the commentators were complimenting how much you were pretty clearly ahead in the cards, but you were still actively looking for the finish in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
You know, so granted there was COVID, so there was that break.
Yeah.
What did you feel was the biggest difference to go from that loss to a performance like you had against Wesley?
Well, it was a while.
Yeah, it was.
It was a long time after. That loss was like it was buried in the head shit. Okay. I think I had already sparred Fabian like twice by then.
Yeah.
I went to go to CFT. They invited me over. So that kind of I felt like I had already got my hatchet back. We have some emergency. We need you to go. Please, thank you. So yeah,
he puffs up by the end of this episode. You know what happened now.
It's because of Mila. So I feel like that at that point was a different mindset. I was for Wesley, man. It was fun. I was really excited to get back in there. I had just got into my faith. I renewed, I found the Lord during that time during COVID.
Yeah.
So my mindset was completely different. I was just like, for me, this fighting stuff felt like I really felt like when I had my confidence in the Lord, I felt like this fighting stuff could just be like, it didn't have that much of a high importance in my life, I guess, in a sense, where I still knew what I could do and work hard and what I put the work in and stuff like that. But I didn't have it wasn't like this, this, I don't know. It's hard to describe it sometimes, but You know, it was just a different confidence that I had. Right. It was, yeah, I didn't have much power over my life now. Where like I knew who to fear. I know who I give an account to. I know again who I am in the Lord, and win or lose, this is just a part of my life. So, and that just took a lot of the extra anxiety that goes into fighting. I feel like, like people put in it so much, trying to either portray a role, try to act like somebody that they're not, or you know, again, and or just again, it's just again for each his own. I guess at the end of the day, right? Whatever works for you, but. At the end of the day, I feel like that inner peace that really shows, like you said, Nene's always say, you always say this for the Nene, like you can't hide yourself in MMA. You can show, you'll show who the real person is in MMA. It'll expose you. It'll expose you. In that case, you'll expose every part of you. So, yeah, for Wesley, that was definitely a good matchup. Like I said, the kid was tough. I feel like I couldn't put him away. That's why we got so much to showcase him. But yeah, that was a fun fight. For sure.
And then after you lost the second fight you lost was a championship fight.
Yeah.
What do you feel was the biggest difference from that championship fight to this one?
Well, yeah,
because I think it's almost poetic in the sense where for your first title fight you lost with a triangle.
Yeah.
And then you come back for your next title fight and you win with a triangle.
Yeah.
You know, so and for years that's kind of been your kryptonite. You know, and even with that fight with Max in your first fight, he threw up a triangle, you got out,
and right back in there.
Went right back in there to do it again.
Yeah. You
know, so that's something that's kind of been following you your entire fight career. You know, and then to have that title fight, you got caught in the triangle, a handful of seconds left in the first round. And then it was almost completely. Watching your this fight back, in my mind, and you know, my dad's convinced that fight was 45 seconds, and I was like, I don't think it was quick, but I don't think it was that quick.
No, yeah,
but then watching it, you know, with the timestamp, it was like, no, that was beyond the 2 minutes. Like it was within the last minute that you caught that submission.
Yeah,
you know, so it was almost mirror but reverse, like almost exactly 2 years to the day.
Right.
So
that's crazy.
What was going on in those 2 years, your mindset for this one, the process, because I think a lot of us, the game plan was to win, to finish the fight because we didn't trust the judges at that point.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us were still expecting a war with Jacob.
Yeah.
You know, and you won essentially without a scratch. You won very dominantly. So walk us through.
I was expecting a war. Not looking forward, but
how did that happen? What was it for you?
Whoa, the fight game, man. That's the way it is. That's the way it works. It's a weird game. Styles make fights. I mean, there's just so much into this fight that it's been different. Obviously, with when I lost the first title shot. Again, the first title fight, no excuses, obviously, but I just wasn't there. I didn't feel like there was nothing there. There was no outcome in my head where I can see myself winning, even though like you said, you guys believed in me, you felt that I had the skill set. I don't know. I felt out of my element, but yeah, with this one, it was just so many things I can go into, as far as like why I even decided to even fight again. Like, as you know, like, cause I retired, a couple of times already. So
what are you, Jose Aldo?
Yeah, Jose Aldo, without any announcements. I was telling my coworker, because my last fight, he was telling me, what's going on, man? So because I told him I wanted to retire before I actually ended up fighting again. And he's actually one of the biggest person at Officer Barbosa that convinced me to actually fight again. And him and a bunch of other people at work. And he's like, well, if you want to retire, why don't you make a retirement speech? I'm bro, because nobody cares. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, like, who cares? I know, it's maybe just us. I know, I love you guys. I know you guys care, you know what I mean? But like, as far as like general, I'm like, no. I don't mean like that. I guess again, maybe just to myself. I gotta give myself more props, right? Yes. Like, and that's why I feel like, but yeah, like I don't want to have like big retirements, like leave my gloves in the like, who is this guy? You know, like the heck. But yeah, I was just like, all right, so yeah, but yeah, I really just, first of all, I knew I could beat Jacob. Like there was just something about his skill set. I felt like I could beat him. Like, so I guess
that's the fight that you wanted. You know, right? You wanted that fight for a minute.
Well, I feel like I I feel like I've been getting more like, obviously you never really get to pick as an amateur because you're grateful to get fights.
Yeah.
But now where you kind of get to the point where you want to pick a fight because you don't want to just go. So like you have fight anybody, like you're beating up people that shouldn't be in there with you type of thing. Because I felt like that also with, you know, one of my opponents and stuff like that. Like I felt like I should have been maybe find somebody else, but whatever. It was a lesson learned for both of us. But with Jacob, I felt like he was a high level kid, and I feel like the competition it was attracting to me. Like even now, watching our fight back, which I watched it almost like every day.
Like, what did I do?
That makes two of us.
Like,
I think I got you. Huh?
yeah, but that. But I'm saying like as far as like, I was like a fan looking out at this fight. I was excited. Like his style, my style. Like it's gonna be a cool fight. Like I was just like looking from outside in. You know, I was like, this will be a cool fight. You know. And watching his last fight with the controversial judges and stuff like that, and the guy that he fought, I personally thought when I heard the announcement about their fighting, I was like, man, this guy's gonna run through this other guy. You know, I felt like skill wise, it just made more sense on paper, right? Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like these whole things, fights make fights. So to your question, like I thought, I expected a war, you know, but to his takedown and we're on the ground, I'm like, oh, well, this is happening now, you know. So like, yeah, at that point, it's all reactive. You know, I can't really just sit there and say that I'm aiming to call the shots. I'm gonna finish him in the first round by via armbar triangle. Like, you know, I can't even, you know, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, go with the flow at that point for sure.
Because I know getting there was kind of unexpected, you know, because with your fight in October against Clay at Anthony Pettis card, I think it was 2 weeks before the fight. We were sitting, and I think we were still in the middle of training. I don't think the session was over yet, and you went on how this was going to be your last one.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I had heard you say that before, and then when I got in the car heading home, talking to Carla and Nene, I was like, I think I believe him on this one. You know, but it's like it's never. I'm a professional wrestling fan. Retirements don't exist in professional wrestling. You know? So, but there was something where I felt like you meant it. You know, you got emotional. You know, the other times that you talked about it, that emotion wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, so I felt like that. That was it. Yeah. You know, and then. Just being at that was for that fight. I felt like that was your 8th fight. You were more knowing what you needed. You know, we had kind of found a rhythm of what we were doing pre-fight. You know, day of the fight. You know, but you wanted something different with the way that I wrapped your hands. Trusted you with it. You know, usually it was you know, you do some touch sparring. Usually it was Mac that was taking a beating, or you know, Aaron the later fights. That one you asked me to hold pads, you know, and then we had that pad session, and you told me exactly what you needed when you were warm. An intermission kind of threw us off, you know, but we didn't let it kind of get in our heads and stuff. And another dominant performance against someone that was high leveled, highly skilled, and you made it look easy. Yeah, you know, and then that card fans start asking for pictures, autographs, and
that was
stuff.
Awesome.
You know, and then I was. At that point, that's where I was like, because even you said it, where it was going to be hard to hang it up on that one, because I think you felt good in the cage. You felt good. You know, you saw who you were inspiring. It was kids that were coming up to you. Yeah. You know, and I told you that night, I was like, you never told me it, because I told you when you said that you were done. I was like, you need to let me know if I need to be the coach that's ready to jump back in here with you at any moment, or if I need to remind you why you said you were done. Right. And on that day, I asked you, or I told you, I was like, you never told me which one you needed. And on that day, you still didn't tell me what you needed. You know, and you got a few fight offers after that. Yeah. And it was no. Like, we turned down 2 or 3 fights immediately after that one. And 2 of them were championship fights. You know? Really? Because I have gotten emotional speaking to you, speaking of you, you know, hearing you speak a handful of times now. Like, she can tell you, you know, the respect and the love that I have for you, the admiration, the appreciation is a lot. But the one that really got to me, because I told you, I was like, there's a title fight opportunity. I know you said you were done, but I can't be the one that doesn't tell you that this opportunity is on the table.
Yeah.
You sent me like a 2-minute voice message that said, you told me that you were convinced that you were done.
Yeah.
But the title is intriguing to you because I deserve the championship.
Right. Yes, sir.
And I told you that's not, I appreciate it. I love you to death for it, but that's not a good enough reason to take it. And you didn't take that fight.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we got the fight off, the title, because yours said it was going to be a title fight, and you wanted to fight Jacob Judah. And then I get the message from Maximus, got a title fight for Leo against Jacob Judah.
The lurch.
And then I text you, I was like, we got a title opportunity against Jacob Judah. And you're like, you'll never guess what I just got finished doing.
Yeah.
Like, you were watching him fight.
Yeah.
And you were.
Right.
You know, but
it's crazy.
I just, you know, not to say that you're done, not going to expect an answer. And not, you know, I don't believe in retirement, you know, but just the journey of the past year with you fighting has been like, if an asteroid hit the earth and that was it, we were done, I'd be pretty happy with what I've done.
The Lord's come before that.
Because it's we talk about at the beginning, like being in our heads, you know, and she kind of said that's kind of both of us, you know, for you as a fighter and for me as a coach. But you helped me get here to be able to say that I coach a champion, because you were the first fighter that trusted me to be a coach. Because you could have followed Anthony, you could have found another gym once I split up with Anthony, right? But you trusted what we had.
Yes.
And I've had the honor and the privilege and the fun to corner you for 9 fights, with the 9th one being a championship. And I'll forever be grateful for what you've helped me do to get out of my own head. And that's helped me be a better coach, hopefully not just for you, but for everybody else at the gym as well. You know, so, and that's one of the main reasons I couldn't wait to sit here and talk with you, and to make sure that you knew that.
Yeah.
And to make sure that, you know, all the people that say that you inspire them to be better at the gym, that does include me as well.
Thank you, brother. Well, this is why I said it when I said it, bro. Like, this is why I do it for you guys. I really meant it. And even I'll stand by it now. Like, this is yours. I did it for you guys, because a lot of it couldn't really been done out of my own head, because there's so many times where I just leaned on your interpretation of who I was, and not who I allowed myself to be. And a lot of times it was just, I always saw the falls in myself and the doubts. But hearing you guys talk about me and telling me this is who I am and how you see me, and I was like, all right, maybe this could be, you know. So this is why I felt so compelled to even just, because like I told you before, when I decided to stop, it wasn't because, you know, the itch is there. It comes and goes, really, you know. You can get it, you can hit you. Is there, you know, but, and that's why, you know, discipline is important. It's not about feeling, it's about choosing to do this. You know, you choose it every day. But at the same time, I'm content with my life. I understand where I'm at in my life. I'm, you know, nothing, and I say it now, like, MMA is, as much as I've enjoyed this moment and how it's brought us together and all this stuff, I understand that I can't lean that to be like my be all and no and be all, you know. But at the same time, you know, just, you know, that doesn't take away from anything as far as like how I feel about you guys and what I do, and, you know, the work that I put into it and stuff like this day in and day out. It's awesome. Being able to just like, to look back at it and be like, wow, like we started off as this and now we're here, and it's been almost the same people. Like it's just us. It's been us from the beginning. It's never really, and I never questioned leaving. And maybe this is random to you, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I remember when I fought Maxi, I'm going to go check out Intercept. And I know that didn't come off the right way at first, and I don't know what was going through your head. I don't know if you thought maybe he's going to like jump ships, but that never crossed my mind, you know. And that was just, that for me felt like that was what attracted me to Anthony. I feel like the small knitted loyalty, I can feel it. And then, you know, I don't know if we had a little break off and now we're back together, praise God. But I think in general, just like that's so attractive to me, to where we're at today. Being able to say that, like, man, this is where we're at day one, and now we're here. Fight number 9. Um, yeah, I don't even know what the question was anymore. So
I don't think I answered the question.
I think, well, as far as for me, and this is where I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm sure a lot of our students go through the same thing. We're genuinely proud of you, Leo.
yeah,
Not just because of the fighting career that you've shown us, literally, you have led the pathway to success. You earned the championship,
Mhm.
but it was because of who you are as a fighter, but not only that, it's because of who you are as a man. And I think a lot of us can talk about this, but from what I saw when I first saw you, you're scary. Like, first of all, you're scary to a lot of people, okay? Scary to me, and you're tall, and a lot of people know how good you are. And you handle yourself very humbly, very humble. Every time that you've met people and you approach them with that kindness and that love, for people. Like every time that I watch your fights, I see how you talk to your opponents afterwards.
yeah,
And that just shows the brotherhood that you have, the respect that you have for the sport, and even how you carry yourself outside of the cage. Because one of the main things that we wanted to address is how you are as a man outside of the cage, that MMA basically has also allowed you to be who you are as far as how you develop your character, but how you apply MMA outside of the cage.
Mm.
Because I've noticed the love and respect and the loyalty that you have with your family,
Mm.
but you also do that at home.
Yeah.
I mean, you do that here at the gym.
yeah,
And you're very loyal. And I was just literally listening to a podcast with Dana White,
Mm.
and he's all about loyalty too. And we're always talking about loyalty. And it's like, you just never know how much you're going to grow with your team
yeah,
if you don't do it together.
right.
And you've shown a lot of us, like, do you remember the fight, was Snady's fight?
Mm.
I think we both cheered, so we were like going crazy for Snady's way.
Best
Like,
thing ever.
you guys should have seen, it was so funny because like once she got the tap, she got the tap, you got
I
the
couldn't
tap.
fight it.
We were like yelling, it was so
Like
funny.
some
Like,
excited parents.
yeah, we were so happy and we were like, oh, going crazy. But the same thing with your fight, me and Misa were going through the same
Yeah,
thing. It
I
was so
bet.
funny.
Man.
But like the level of pride that we have, and like we're so happy for you, and just the same way that you have with the students when you're a coach, when you're cornering people, we see you the same way. We really appreciate you. Like even Snady has told me how you have inspired her to become a champion.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've done so much for all of us, and I don't think you give yourself enough credit. And like I said, you keep saying like this championship is for us.
Yeah.
But you did it. Give yourself credit, and we're very proud of you. And thank
you.
God for you.
Yeah,
Because
thank
if it
God.
wasn't
Thank
for you and who you are as a person, your family, like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
This guy here is also, big on loyalty, but he lacked a lot of confidence. And you've seen some of his talking about previous podcasts.
Yeah.
He sometimes lacks confidence, but thanks to you and how you are, how you communicate with him, how you perform in the fights, just shows the evidence that, hey, he's a good coach. So thank you for that.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, I think, again, thank you guys. I think to your point also, it's just like, it's all really stems down to like, again, we don't see it. We never, like, we can't envision it. We can't tell the future. But a lot of times people don't see the fruits of their labor because it might be like a little gym. We're not well known, whatever, but it's like, for me, that was my thing. Like, we're little, but if we stay consistent and we're doing the right things, it's going to come to anybody. So even though it felt like, and I learned that too. I feel like when I lost and we fought the CFT, and I got to kind of like expand and go check out, top level gyms, however have you. And I got to see what the top level gyms were supposed to look like. And man, we're doing this back home and we're doing it every day, and we're doing it like it's a warm up.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, and that's how I feel like that now I'm learning that now too. Like, we feed off each other, like you said, maybe I lack confidence in this area myself, and you're giving me boastful now. You're giving me my props now, and I thank you. But again, it's like, now I'm realizing that too. Now, like being like prideful, how I was in the world, and now being prideful now in the Lord. I'll be careful with that word prideful, right? But the Bible says if I should boast, I should boast in the Lord. So I'm going to boast in the Lord. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to boast in the fact that I have you guys. We did it in a way that it wasn't grimy. You know, I'm not going out there and trying to put a name for myself and talk smack with my opponents. That's not who I am. I feel like it's exhausting. I feel like it puts a weight on you that you don't need to put on your shoulders. And if I tell anybody else that I would train, I'll tell them the same thing. So yeah, I think that's something that, you know, I've grown as my own personal life, and I'm glad that if you guys been open and to receive it at certain aspects in your life, you know, when you guys had questions, and obviously you guys been there during my wedding and you've seen where that was at. And you guys been in every aspect of my life and the little things too, so you know. Yeah, it's just amazing to see like the fruits of our labor, really, to see how we've been coming this far. It's in the gym coming to fruition, and everybody seeing the guys being more consistent and tougher, heavier. I don't know what they're feeding your kids nowadays, but stop.
Seriously.
Just stop.
Give us older guys a
stop,
chance,
whatever
man.
it is, like whatever it is, it's in the water or in the milk now.
You know, but we could talk for hours, but we're all hungry too. You know,
Yes.
I'm sure it's not going to be the last time that we talk, you know, but it was just, you know, to what you said, I never felt like, you know, the time that you visited other places, I never felt like you were going to leave. I felt that trust that we had, you know, not just because of what we've done in the sport, you know, but when you started your walk with faith too, we would have conversations about that as well. Like we would stay after class and we talk and stuff, you know, and you know, we'd figure out together. Like I've always been a believer myself, you know, so we would talk through things, you know. So once you have like a bond and a trust like that, you know, and you were always very honest with it. You would tell me when you were going, where you were going. Even during camps where I tell you, because there was one time you went to an open mat like 2 weeks before a fight, and
not a good decision.
Hurt your elbow. You know, and that's when I would tell you how I feel about going to other places, camps and stuff. Yeah. And there was one day, I forgot what fight it was, you know, and we'll kind of end it on a lighter note. I forgot what fight it was for, you know, but I told you, I was like, just be careful with where you're going, because they might not care about your well-being as much as, you know, the training partners that you have. And you were in the middle of the rounds. I think you were about to start your second round. And I'm telling you, like, you know, keep your hands up, whatever it is I was telling you. You're like, okay, Sean, you know I love you, right? I was like, yes. He's like, I think it was when you went to Torres. Yeah. He's like, I went to Torres.
I was recently that.
You're like, I just had to say it. I was like, all right, yeah. You're in one piece. You're fine. You're healthy. It's okay, you know. But it was. For sure. It always goes back to just me, you know, hearing what you were doing, because you've always said, like, we're doing what those gyms are doing. It's just, you know, we're not known like that, you know, and we haven't had people consistent. Like you and Aaron have really held the fort down as the consistent fighters. You know, both of you have been in there 9 times now. Yeah. You know, so and that's now led to what we're seeing this year with the newer fighters coming up and the people doing the grappling tournaments. And you led the charge, you know, and I've been telling people, it's like, it only made sense for you to be the first champion for Warrior Evolution. You were the first fighter for Warrior Evolution. You're the one that represents who we are, I think, the most as a human, as a fighter, as a martial artist, as a man of God. Wow. It's you know, like you've been saying, fighting is that's the fun part. That's the privilege. Like we have a privilege to be doing this, but there's a bigger fight that everybody goes through on a daily basis. Right. You know, and I think you're not just a champion in the cage, but you're a champion outside of that. And we've said it for years. This belt doesn't prove to me that you're a champ. I've known that forever because of the fights that you've had outside of the cage, and because the inspiration that you've given to people to fight their fights, not just in a cage, but every day of their life. Right. You know, the mind, the heart, the soul, the spirit, everything, you know? So just one more thank you for that. And it was just, it's been an honor and privilege, whether, you're done fighting, whether we have another one, whether we go collect another belt,
Day by day, baby.
you know, whatever it is. I've gotten over the past few years is like 4-week camps. Like if there's a fight 4 weeks
Those are
away,
the best.
there's still a chance that Leo's gonna jump on that card.
Those are the best.
You know, but it's been fun. I'm looking forward to what's coming next, whether it's a fight, whether it's, you know, whatever it is. You know, thank you for your trust, your loyalty,
Sure.
your brotherhood, everything. Just
Sir,
thank
yes,
you.
sir. Oh, thank you.
And then if you want to tell people what you got going on, where whatever.
I mean, you know me. I'm day by day just figuring it out. Like this whole fight in itself just manifested itself. It was so random. Like Sean said, I'm on my way to Monster Jam with my son. My brother-in-law is driving, and we're just driving. You know, we're just driving there. I'm not thinking about nothing else. Just fighting. I think I had already a beer by then, whatever. And I'm like, I wonder if Maximus has this fight up with Jacob Judah and Romero or whatever. I'm like, let me look up. And I look at my phone and I look it up. I find it. I'm like, oh, it is there. And I look at the whole video. I look at the fight, the whole thing. I watch it like twice. I look around, turn around, look at Sandra like, and I don't even know what's going on. Sandra's just like, she's doing her own thing. And like, Sandra, I can beat Jacob. She's like, what? I can beat Jacob. Okay, babe. You know. Like, and I was like, I was in my mind, you know. And then you texted me like, title shot, Jacob Judah. I was like, what? What? I was like, I'm not in the best shape right now. Like, Lord, what should I do? Should I just say no? I was like, I can't say no right now. I'm like, I'm drinking it out on my way to the stadium to go eat gut, and I still ate like an animal that day. So yeah, that's how that came around. But yeah, no, thank you guys. I really, again, I love you guys, and I say that because I mean it. And that's kind of where I'm just happy to be around you guys. Where even if I don't know what I'm doing as far as fighting, I know I have a plan, or at least have options. And I'm excited to see where we're gonna go. But even with not by myself, but just the guys, Snady, it's exciting.
Yeah,
you know, she's so young and just so talented and stuff like that. So yeah, I got nothing else, but that's it. Thank you, Leo. We're hungry. We're leaving.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening. We'll do a short outro. I don't know if Manny's gonna say anything. No? All right, cool.
I'm hungry.
We're all hungry. Hangry fighters in here. So thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys all back next week.